Welcome to the ASDRP Researcher Interview Series. Today I'll be talking with Patrick Ting. Thank you so much for joining us today. How are you doing?
It's a pleasure. I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm doing well, thank you for asking. To start us off, I would love to hear about how you heard about ASDRP and what got you started being a researcher.
For sure. Well, while it's my first time working with professionals in these fields, for me, I'm working with a Dr. Phil Mui, who's a professional in computer science working at Salesforce. I heard through one of my family friends who knew I was interested in research, and I thought this would be a great opportunity to kind of explore that path.
Awesome. What high school do you go to?
I'm currently a rising senior at San Ramon Valley High School.
Oh, nice. That's awesome. What research cluster are you a part of?
Right now, I'm a part of Dr. Mui's algorithmic bias research group.
Awesome. And how long have you been here at ASDRP?
This is my first summer, and so I'm really excited. I've started back in late May, and it's been a pleasure working with Dr. Mui.
That's great. What has your research focused on so far this summer?
So far, as I mentioned, we're working on algorithmic bias. Right now, I'm working on a proposal so that me and my group can explore more focused on the medical field and how algorithmic bias may play a role in how the triaging system works in the medical setting. So this might look like whether certain demographic of patients are being discriminated or favored against before.
Okay, that's very cool. How would you describe algorithmic bias to someone who doesn't know very much about it?
Right. So nowadays we have advanced computer softwares called neural networks, and these are basically big programs that can you feed data into, and then they will make predictions based off of that data. However, if data themselves are not fully representative of a, a demographic, then the output might be like a biased result.
Okay, that makes sense. Yeah, I've heard about things with Meta and their bias system. Um, it sounds like very relevant research that you're doing. What does the day-to-day look like for you? Do you work in the lab or asynchronously?
Yeah, for my group, we work asynchronously. I have a group of 3 other people, and we communicate through Slack, and we are currently in the phase of finding the best database that we can kind of form our algorithm around.
Cool, very cool. And what has been your role in your team? What is your niche?
Right now, as the kind of overseer, I've been assigning my members specific roles, but simultaneously, I'm also helping out finding the correct hospital database that we can kind of apply our algorithm onto.
Got it. And does it take a while to find a good data set? What are the things that you consider when choosing your data?
Right, so we're looking at specific demographics. So if the database includes factors such as age, ethnicity, gender, and also previous medical history, because that's a big factor in determining how patients are triaged in the medical system. And so those are the main factors.
Okay, interesting. Did you have any experience with research before you started here at ASDRP?
Yeah, in the previous year, 2021, I participated in the UC Santa Barbara Summer Research Academies. And in that program, I also focused on how machine learnings and algorithms can be used to detect COVID-19 in pneumonia patients.
Oh, wow. Wow, that sounds like a really cool experience. Well, it's awesome that you are bringing that to ASDRP as well. I'm curious as to what are some of the challenges that you and your team have encountered so far this summer in your work?
Most recently, since we're still in a pretty early phase, I think our biggest challenge is just finding the perfect database that will kind of support our kind of goal. And for example, we've looked through at least like 4 or 5 databases on Kaggle, and all of them are very unique in their own sense. And we're just looking for the best one right now.
Right, that makes sense how that would be something that's challenging in your work. I'm also wondering, what is something that excites you most about the research that you're doing?
Right. So one thing about the research is that like throughout this process, we ask so many questions, and throughout this process, not only in what we produce by the end of the program, but I think throughout the process, we can kind of get a glimpse into how we might answer the questions that we pose ourselves.
Got it. Nice. And I know, like you mentioned, it's earlier on in the summer, but I was wondering what has been the most rewarding thing about researching at ASDRP?
For sure. I think one of the most rewarding things is the connections that you build with so many great minds across so many different places. For example, I think my group is all like scattered across the like Bay Area and perhaps even like Southern California. So it's great to be able to come together with such great minds and focus on one goal that we all have.
That's awesome. What is it like working in the team?
I think it's a really great experience because once again you get to bounce ideas off of other people, and also other people can add ideas into the conversation, and it just adds a rich diversity to discussions about research.
That's awesome. I've heard a lot about how much all the researchers are learning from each other, and that sounds like it's such an important part of being able to work with your peers and establishing those connections. This is more of a broad overview question, but I'm curious if you feel as though your research has changed anything about the way that you view the world.
I think that especially given the last 2 years with the pandemic, our world's been like filled with so much uncertainty, and especially myself talking from personal experience, there are a lot of things that I go into like unsure about. I'm just like searching through the unknown, but I think research kind of gives us the opportunity and kind of lens to and like look farther and have a clearer view of how our world works, and it can provide us with potential um, explanations for phenomenon that we view in our day-to-day lives.
That's very true. That's awesome. Um, Before I ask my last question, I was wondering if you had anything else you'd like to share, any fun experiences or stories that you have.
I think overall, the best part is just coming together with my group and not only talking about research, but just bonding as a group and building our team morale. And I think that can help us collaborate effectively throughout throughout the next phases of a research process.
Awesome. Where do you see your research going in the future?
I think following this summer term at ASDRP, I plan on doing more work in how artificial intelligence can not only like um, advance some of I think some of the research in the future would be more focused on how artificial intelligence can have negative implications on society if ethical considerations aren't taken into account.
That sounds really fascinating. That's super cool stuff that you're working on. All right, my final question is, what advice would you give to a future researcher looking to join ASDRP?
My advice to a future researcher would just be to keep an open mind, because you can come into the program with many ideas of your own, but at the end of the day, not everything works out as planned. So having an open mind can really help you work around and adapt to different circumstances that you might not have previously expected.
That's great advice. I've been hearing that answer a lot about how much the process changes and the unpredictability of it all. And yeah, that's great advice. Thank you so much for talking with me today. It's been awesome to get to know more about you and your research, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of your summer researching.
For sure. Thank you.
Thank you. Goodbye.